Good evening from the nation's capital. I'm David Akin. Thank you so much for watching. We start tonight, as we have been all week, in Battleground Quebec. You know, the campaign is almost 2 weeks old, and finally, the Parti Québécois gets around to talking about what all the polls say may be a vote winner for them, and that is the Charter of Values. Our chief Quebec election correspondent, Giuseppe Valiente, is standing by in Montreal tonight. And notably, Giuseppe, it wasn't necessarily the Premier who was the point person in this one. It was one of the most popular PQ cabinet ministers. Tell us about it.
Yes, it was Bernard Drinville. And listen, David, ever since the PQ unveiled this Charter of Values in September, they've gained support in the polls, at least until a point to where they were in majority territory. That was before the election call. And as we know, a couple of days ago, a poll put the Parti Québécois 3 points behind the Liberal Party. Now, it's all within the margin of error here. We're not going to follow the polls all the time. But, you know, the Parti Québécois has really positioned itself as the only party capable of defending Quebec values against these waves of immigrants coming from certain areas of the world where people might not share Quebec values. So let's get into it a little bit. We have a couple boards to break down what exactly this means, this Charter of Quebec values. The Parti Québécois Charter in particular centers on a couple of main issues, and the first one is the banning of all religious symbols within the workplace. So it's employees of the state who have a kippah, a hijab, any religious symbol, a large cross, can't wear that during working hours. And there's also, if you want to receive or give a state service, you also have to have your face uncovered. Those are a couple of the main tenets of the PQ's charter. Now, it's actually not that different from what the Liberal Party announced not too long ago. The Liberal Party also says if you want to receive or give a state service, you have to have your face uncovered. The Liberal Party wants to have a framework to kind of guide people, guide state officials when they are accommodating people on religious grounds. And the Liberal Party as well also is planning on banning the burqa, the chador, and the niqab. So it's not all that different, really, except it's the PQ that positions itself really as the party of Quebec identity.
Now, Bernard Drinville was on Twitter this afternoon saying not only let's focus on the receiving services. So if you go into a hospital to receive state services, or Drinville says if you want to attend school, you got to get rid of the veil. You got to get rid of this religious stuff, and that might strike a lot of people in the rest of the country. I guess maybe not in Quebec, as maybe that's going a bit too far.
Well, I mean, during this debate over the past several months, you really got the message, or people outside of Quebec were highly critical of this measure as well. Within Quebec, we really do have a debate, even though the polls do show that a majority of Quebecers do support the charter. What the PQ is doing, and what they've done, and today in particular, the minister responsible for the charter, Mr. Bernard Drinville, he's attacking the Liberal leader, accusing him of, you know, because Philippe Couillard, Liberal leader, didn't take a firm stance right away, and because his position is somewhat softer than the PQ's, they're saying that this indecision shows that he is incapable of leading Quebec. And perhaps it's a precursor to the line of attack that Pauline Marois will take tomorrow during the debate. Drinville said that, you know, Philippe Couillard, because at first he was against the charter, and then because he got pressure within his party and within certain riding associations to have some sort of a charter. So because the Liberal Party wavered, Bernard Drinville said, if you have a man like Philippe Couillard who can't even pronounce himself on such an important topic as Quebec identity, how can he lead the province? And so this is something to look forward to, to look out for the debates tomorrow, starting tomorrow night.
Just quickly, Giuseppe, that Bernard Drinville, just to let folks outside the country know, or outside Quebec know, he's certainly one of the most popular PQ politicians. He certainly would be in the mix should Pauline Marois ever decide to move on, in the mix for leadership. So Drinville wants to talk about the charter. Did he get any questions about independence? Because I contrast that when Péladeau, another star, wants to talk about the economy, all reporters did was talk about independence. So was there much that Drinville had to defend on the independence side today?
Not that much, actually. Today was really about the charter. It's actually interesting throughout the campaign, whether it was Mr. Péladeau or Pauline Marois or anyone on the PQ side, the reporters really hammered the question of sovereignty, referendum, and all those issues. But today, really, the focus was on the charter, and it's very interesting how as you mentioned earlier, that issue of the charter debate really hadn't made itself being felt until now. And so he was actually asked, why are you talking about the charter now? Is it because you're losing support? Is it because your campaign is unhinged? And he said, no, this was the game plan the whole time. But we'll never really know, right? I mean, what was going on behind closed doors in the PQ war room?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Giuseppe Valiente will be back later in the show with some other stuff. We're going to talk about the CAQ. But for now, thank you very much, my friend.
Okay, thank you very much.